This video will teach you how to document a turf removal project and calculate the square footage using the measurement template. We're going to cover definitions, measurement techniques, an example for the front yard, an example for the backyard, and then we'll actually enter a project into the spreadsheet. Some important definitions. Area is defined as any portion of the yard that is entirely separated and isolated from other portions of the yard by a pathway, driveway, area of shrubbery or other plants, fences and walls, or other non-turf area. A section would be any portion of an area that is visually divided for the purpose of breaking down an area into a measurable shape. Left would refer to the left side of the house when facing the house from the street, and right will refer to the right side of the house when facing the house from the street. We're going to go over some of the measurement techniques that are used to get odd shapes, and then we'll talk about the formulas for triangles, circles, squares, and rectangles. So the first non-uniform shape is the non-uniform rectangular. So this would be a shape that's rectangular, however, it does not have a single length or width or both. So you would need to gather multiple lengths or multiple widths, and then we would get the average of them to calculate the rectangle. The next one is the non-uniform round. So this one is a round shape that doesn't have a single diameter. So you would gather multiple diameters and then get the average of those. An ellipse would be anything that is oval in shape. And for this, you would calculate the total distance or the total length and then divide it into equal segments. Then you will measure the distance between each segment and then the offset line or width. So you'll total the offset lines and then times it by the distance between the offset lines. Triangle is base times height divided by 2. For the circle formula, we use the diameter. So if only a radius is captured, it will need to be doubled. You can also use the formula for half circles or quarter circles. Rectangular would be, of course, base times height. So here we have an example we'll be using for the front yard. We have a non-uniform round shape for area 1, a half circle for area 2 with a meter box, a triangle for area 3, an ellipse for area 4, and a rectangle for area 5. This is the example we'll be using for the backyard. For this example, we have one continuous area with 2 sections. First, we have a rectangle with 4 trees and a non-uniform rectangle. Now we're ready to take a look at the spreadsheet. The spreadsheet has multiple tabs to enter information. The first tab or worksheet is the project worksheet. It contains specific identification information on the project, and then it will have the measured totals. So the totals by measured area, ineligible area, and then the total eligible square feet. The bottom section is used for post inspections, and we'll discuss that after we've entered information into the form. The front and back worksheet work exactly the same. They have up to 5 areas with 25 sections for each area, and then there are 10 sections for each area for ineligible area. Next, we have the non-uniform rectangle. So this is where you would enter in the multiple lengths and widths for a non-uniform rectangle, and it will automatically total them. You have space for up to 8 non-uniform rectangles. Ellipse works similar. You'll enter the distance, and then you'll enter the length or dimensions for the offset line, and again, you have up to 8 available. Non-uniform circle, here's where you would enter multiple diameters, and again, there's 8 available. And then the multiples tab. This is where you would enter information where you have the same size shape multiple times. So you may have multiple ones with the same dimensions. This is common with trees, with stepping stones, meter boxes, utility poles, mailboxes, that sort of thing. So anytime you have more than one shape with the same dimension, you would use the multiples tab. Now on the front and back worksheet, each line has a space for you to enter the particular shape type. So the shape types are rectangle, then we have non-uniform rectangle 1 through 8, triangle, ellipse 1 through 8, circle, non-uniform circle 1 through 8, half circle, non-uniform half circle 1 through 8, quarter circle, non-uniform quarter circle 1 through 8. Then we have 2 multi-rectangles, 2 multiple triangles, and 2 multiple circles. And then based on what you select in the drop-down box, you will either need to populate, for standard shapes, you'll populate the length and the in foot and inches and width in foot and inches, or for a circle, the diameter. And then if it's a non-uniform shape, you don't need to populate anything here. It will automatically pull the length and width. Then finally, the area will automatically calculate using the correct formula based on the selection from the drop-down box. For the non-uniform circles, you would always need to use a diameter. So if you have multiple radius, then you would go ahead and double that to get your average for using the correct formula. So we're going to go ahead and start by entering a project. So on the project worksheet, we would enter in the application number, and that's the number that's assigned by the agency when the application is submitted. Then you'll enter the customer's name, address, the day the inspection took place, the project location. So for our example, we are using a project that has both a back and front yard. If it's just the backyard or just the front yard, you would note that. Also, if it contains a parkway or a side yard. The type for this example would be the post-inspection. So you'd either enter post-inspection or pre-inspection. Comments are there if you have any specific relevant information that's needed. Then finally, because it's a post-inspection, we would need to enter in the pre-inspection totals for the front and the back. This was the measurement that was approved at the pre-inspection. We're going to go ahead and get started with our front yard. So our first shape type is a non-uniform round. So we're going to go ahead and select that from our drop-down box. We're going to select non-uniform circle. We'll go over to the non-uniform circle tab to enter our information. So first we have a diameter of 18 feet and 10 inches. Second one is 16 feet 5 inches, 19 feet 2 inches, and 14 feet 9 inches. So you can see here at the top it automatically averaged those. Because we only have one, we're going to go ahead and hide these cells that aren't populated, and that's so that when we print this, we're not wasting any paper. You want to go ahead and hide them as opposed to delete. If you delete them, then it will mess up the formula, so you want to make sure you're hiding them. Okay, so you'll see that that automatically brought over the diameter and also calculated the area. We'll go ahead and hide these because we're not entering any other sections for this area. This area does not have any ineligible areas, so we're going to go ahead and hide that as well. Now you'll see that it automatically rounded this, so it will round it up or down depending upon the specific information behind the digits. All right, so for area 2, we have a half circle. And the diameter we have is 21 feet and 10 inches. We'll go ahead and hide these. Then we do have a non-eligible meter box. So for this, we're going to want to indicate the section it's in. It's only one section in this area, but it's just a good habit to get into. And the reason for that is if you're not the one reviewing this, or if questions come up later, the person who needs to take a look at it will need to be able to easily identify where something was and also what it was. So we're also going to note that this is for the meter. And that's also just so someone can identify it later. So this is a rectangle. Now you can either use the drop down boxes or you can actually type it in. However, to type it in, you must enter exactly what it says in the drop down boxes or you will not get the correct formula. So then we'll enter the dimensions. So we have 2 feet 6 inches by 1 foot 6 inches. Sometimes people prefer to enter in all of the shape types first and then just enter in dimensions. It's a little faster if you're just using the keyboard rather than having to go back and forth with the mouse. It's really just a matter of what works best for you. And the same for the non-uniform shapes. You can enter those dimensions in at the beginning, at the end, or as you add each shape type. So area 3, we have a triangle. We're going to go ahead and select that. There we go. And then enter in our dimensions, which is 18 feet 2 inches by 8 feet 10 inches. And again, we'll hide all of these because we're not using them. Always want to make sure we leave the line with the total. And we don't have any ineligible for area 3. Area 4, we have an ellipse, so we're going to select that. And we'll go to our ellipse worksheet. And the distance we have is 2 feet 6 inches. And then we'll go ahead and enter our line. So we have 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, 3 feet, and 2 feet. So it's summed all of those, and then it will times it by the distance. Okay, back to our front yard, and that's the only section we have for area 4. There isn't any ineligible areas, so we're going to go ahead and hide that. Alright, and then area 5, we just have a rectangle. Okay. And that's going to be the last entry for our front yard. As you can see, each area will subtotal. And then at the very top, we're going to see that it has totaled up all of the areas. So we've got the full measured area, the ineligible area, and then the total of the measured area that's eligible. So now we're going to go to our backyard. Our backyard has just one area with two sections. So the first section is a rectangle. And then the second section is a non-uniform rectangle. So we'll go over to that tab. We have just one length, so we'll enter that. And then we have 5 widths. So 10 feet, 11 feet by 11 inches, 16 feet by 2 inches, 12 feet 9 inches, and 11 feet 8 inches. And we just have the one non-uniform rectangle. Okay, back to our backyard. So we just have the 2 sections, but we do have an eligible area there. We have 4 trees. So in section 1, so we're going to go ahead and note what section and what type. They're trees, and because we have 4 with the same dimensions, we're going to use the multiple circle. So we'll go on over to that tab. So for that, we're going to enter in our diameter, which is 2 feet 4 inches. It's going to give us the area, and then we're going to tell it how many there are. So there are 4 of them. Go back to the backyard. That's already populated. We can hide this. And that's it for the backyard. We can go ahead and hide all the other areas. Okay, now we'll go back over to the project worksheet, and you'll see that the totals have been brought over for the measured areas front and back, ineligible area front and back, and the total front and back. Now this is where we're going to take a look at the bottom section. So we'll enter in the total approved for the pre-inspection, and then it's going to automatically populate by yard the post-inspection measurement. Now because we are allowed to pay at the pre-inspection measurement if it's within a 10% margin of error, we have set this up so it will display that margin for you. So measurement differences are pretty common from post to pre-inspection. A lot of that has to do with maybe just slightly different measurement techniques or being an off an inch or two. So we do allow for some variability there. As long as it's within 10%, then they'll be able to get paid at the pre-inspection total. And the pre-inspection total is the maximum that they will get. So when it's outside of that 10% margin of error, it's going to turn that box yellow with red writing, and that's just to kind of alert you that there's an issue there with the margin of error. And then we're going to pay at the post-inspection amount if it's outside that 10%. Now, we also want to indicate the reason to the best of our ability if it's extremely different. So generally you can leave that blank unless it's outside of the margin of error or it's extremely different, whether it's higher or lower. And then there's a drop down box to select the reason. So generally the reasons that are listed there are the ones you're going to find. So we're just going to pick one for this and say that they did not complete the full project. Then we have a line to indicate what the square footage is that we're using for the rebate. So for the front yard, we're using the pre-inspection amount. And then for the backyard, we're using the post-inspection amount. So we're going to put that in. It's going to give us the total here. And then it's automatically going to give us the rebate amount. So the math is done. There's no room for errors. We can all be consistent in how things are done. Then you'll just print this out. Each worksheet you have information on, you'll need to print and attach it to the work order. This is the number you'll put on the work order for the amount of the rebate. And then the final step is just saving this. So this is going to get saved in the file. So you'll go to the shared drive for the turf removal. You'll go to the correct fiscal year. Then you'll select the file for the address. And then you'll select the file for the post inspection. When you save this, you need to save it. We want to be uniform in how we name it. So it's going to be saved as the address, then the type of inspection. So this will be saved as 15 Disney Way post inspection, or just post, and then measurements. And after that, you're done. It goes on for review. And that's how you enter information into the measurement template.